But when you can appreciate that, you might not understand other people's lives, and that's okay. When you can get to that point, it's so invigorating. And then when you pivot that back to you and say, it's okay that other people don't understand the life that you live, that's where you can really let go.
Welcome to season 1 of Beyond the Human. Remember who you are. I'm your host, Hazel Ray, singer-songwriter, experiencer, and messenger for those walking the edge of remembrance just like me. This is not a podcast to convince you of anything. Really, just take what resonates, leave what doesn't. This is a transmission, a call to the ones waking up, the ones remembering, the starseeds, the sensitives, the truth seekers, bridging science and spirit. If you're listening to this, you are ready. So let's remember together.
Hi, welcome to Beyond the Human. I'm your host, Hazel Ray, and today's episode is called Making Meaning in the Mess. And I really wanted to talk about the concept of purpose, because it seems to be this word that gets thrown around, and sometimes it can feel like a whole lot of pressure. And, finding this thing that we're supposed to be doing for the rest of our life, and it, I remember when I thought that I had found my purpose, that I was relieved and that I'd found that thing that I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life and everything was going to fall into place. But that's not necessarily what happened, and that's not necessarily how it works. One of the most refreshing things I ever heard was this quote that I've said, I think twice now, which is, if you do the thing that lights you up the most in this world and you lose yourself in the doing, you'll light up the world without even trying. When I heard that, I think the pressure lifted, because it meant that I didn't have to stick at that one thing. I could pivot, and if the thing that was lighting me up the most stopped lighting me up, I needed to look to the things that were lighting me up. So if I was to ask you, what does your life purpose mean to you? What would you say? For me, right now, it means that I'm waking up every day and I have something that brings me joy to do. And for me, it can't be on a scale of just going to work. I have this greater mission of doing something like this, and I'm not even paid to do what I'm doing here on this podcast. I'm sharing this information because I genuinely want to help people. I wanted to help people that were like me, that felt stuck in their life, and that maybe had been indoctrinated to believe that to amount to something, you had to climb all these giant mountains and you had to have lots of money and your family needed to look picture perfect and, all these life ideals. And not having lived up to those things, I just felt like a failure all the time. But when you can appreciate that, you might not understand other people's lives, and that's okay. When you can get to that point, it's so invigorating. And then when you pivot that back to you and say, it's okay that other people don't understand the life that you live, that's where you can really let go. Because when you stop caring what other people think about what you're doing, you can really start to think and lean into, what is it that I would really like to be doing with my days? Because there's your key right there. I've said this before too, but jealousy and fear are other guideposts as to potentially what you should be stepping into. Because if you're fearful of doing something like stepping onto a stage or being a, keynote speaker, or, you want to be playing in a basketball team, or you have a dream of writing a book, but you're scared that someone won't read the book, or you're scared that, you're starting basketball too late in life, or you're starting this musical instrument too late in life. Says who? What rule book says that you can't be doing those things now? And recently I know someone who just picked up an instrument, and it was from me saying to them, honestly, like, it's never too late. I didn't start surfing until I was 32, and I love surfing now. And maybe I surf for a couple more years and then I don't want to surf anymore, but it serves a purpose for me now. It brings me joy, it calms me, it lights me up. And that serves as a role of, an integral part of my day to, ground me, just like meditation would do, or just like breath work would do. So we need to find these things that bring joy to our days and do more of those things. It's pretty much as simple as that. In terms of a grander purpose, you may not have that calling. For me, I have said this before, but for me, I just felt like since I was a kid that I had some message to share. It sounds so grand and crazy. But some message that I had to share with the world, and I have no idea what it was, and I had no idea how long it was going to take me to find out what that is. And to be honest with you, I still don't know what the message is. Something tells me that this questioning life, realizing that we don't have all the answers, and really the purpose of life is to give meaning to life. So whatever gives meaning to your days is your purpose. And again, I think I don't know if I said this earlier, but I think it was a Buddha that I listened to that said this, and it was, whatever it is that lights you up. So for me, performing lights me up, and writing music and releasing it lights me up, and doing these podcasts lights me up. I'm going to do those things as hard and lean into it as much as I can until it doesn't feel right anymore. And then instead of attaching using the sunk cost analysis in psychology, where you've invested so much time and energy into something that I've got to see it through, if in my heart it doesn't feel like it lights me up anymore, and it doesn't feel like I can give to it like I would in the beginning, then it's time for a pivot and look for the new thing that gives that drive in me, because I've obviously got something to learn there or knowledge to share later. For me too, it's so interesting, but having, done the neuroscience degree and then become a secondary school teacher and teaching for so many years, whilst I think back then they weren't things that lit me up, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now if I didn't do them. So maybe it's all of it. It's not knowing and doing those check boxes. So going and doing the job for 5 years that you don't like to do till you get to the point where you don't want to do it anymore. Maybe that job serves you later on with marketing down the road, or becoming an entrepreneur and releasing your own business, because you wouldn't have known these, you wouldn't have had these skills to use to deliver here. So I genuinely live by the mantra that life is happening for you, not to you. And if you have some distinct purpose where you've got to share information, or I'm not sure, start a team or a women's circle or whatever it might be, but you'll have been collecting tools along the way that allows you to then step into that role, because then you'll have no limiting beliefs around the fact that you can't do it anymore, because you've collected all of these tools to help you fulfill that purpose or mission. There's a question on purpose too. Is it something that we find or we create? And just on what I was saying, I think you get to a point in your life where you ask yourself, is this it? I definitely got to that point. And so then what I think we do is we look through the archives of all the skills that we have. And then we finally realize that we've got all the guideposts that we need to go and pursue the thing that it is that we really want to do. There's a saying too, you don't know until you know. And then when you do know, it's up to you to create it. You to create the meaning, which then creates your purpose. And I don't know if we necessarily have one giant purpose. I think we have lots of things in our life that give us meaning. You know, walking your dog. A lot of people get up in the morning and their dog's, nagging at the door wanting to go for a walk, and that gives purpose to their day. But there'll be other things along the day that brings them joy, that gives meaning and purpose to their day. Some people ask me, how can I find my purpose, or what are things that I could do? And I like to ask the question of, what would you be doing if money wasn't a factor? If you didn't have to have money for bills, for, petrol, to buy a house, to pay rent, what would you be doing with your time? And I can honestly tell you that apart from the odd day of teaching, I'd be doing everything that I'm doing now. And, don't envy me for saying that. It's taken a lot to get here. A few dark nights and a lot of inner work, but I love what my days entail. I've set up my life to a point where I don't really do a lot of the same things every day. I have a lot of days off with my youngest child, and the days that I am doing something, I genuinely look forward to going there. Because for me, it's not about doing the same thing every day or climbing some ladder. It's about wherever I am, being present there because I want to be there. And, if you're listening to this and that's something that you want to try and create for your life, send me an email, let's have a chat. So here are 4 questions that help me investigate what is my purpose. And you can ask yourself the same questions. The first one is, what do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? And what do they get out of it? So if you had have asked me, 5 years ago when I was teaching, what do you do? I'd say I'm a maths and science and psychology and biology teacher. Why do you do it? I enjoy being around students and teaching them information, but mainly I do it because I went to university, I got that degree, and it brings money. And it would be a lot to pivot and do something else. Who do you do it for? The children, so that they can progress into their future. And what do they get out of it? Well, on days when I'm really present in the classroom, they'll get a really engaging lesson and potentially learn something that they never learnt before. But sometimes they probably wouldn't get much out of what I was teaching them. So when I ask people these questions at my shows, if they get to the second question, why do you do it? And it isn't because I love it, then we need to go back to question 1 to find out what their purpose is. So you would ask me now, what do you do? I've got a couple of things that give me purpose, but my main one is, what do you do? I release music with the world to help inspire people to live a more heart-centered existence. Why do you do it? Because I love it. Who do you do it for? The people that are feeling stuck in their life, that are lacking purpose and meaning, so that they too can find their way back to peace. And what do they get out of it? Well, the music and the shows give them new perspectives on life that may just help shift them to live a more heart-centered existence. And that last question, when you've done the thing that you love and what they get out of it, that is your purpose. My purpose is to release music and put on shows with the world to help plant seeds so that they can look at a life through a new lens, a new perspective, and maybe step into fear and live a more heart-centered, peaceful existence. That's my purpose. I have other, what I would call sub-purposes, like raising my children to be independent, autonomous, happy, joyful little beings that aren't driven by societal pressures, but their inner guidance. To bring joy to my friends, to be a, contributing citizen in my community. But my main overarching thing is that. So you ask yourself, and if you get to that second question, you need to find that thing that when you say I love it, and then you need to find ways to do more of that in your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that is monetized, but just start off with doing it for starters. There are moments in my life where I have felt lost without direction. And it's even happened since my awakening and being on this journey. You see, it all started with just releasing music, and I thought that being on stages and sharing the music was the purpose. And then as that evolved, I realized I had these skills that I wanted to teach. I wanted to help connect, atoms and electrons and frequency and the human body and how we're antennas, and it made sense to me on a basic level how this information could be helpful to people if they understood it. So I'm like, how could I give that to people? So I created these shows, Asleep to Awake, Awake to Aware, Aware to Ascension, and they just kept developing, and lo and behold, I'd put on 15 shows. And then this year I went to do one show and I couldn't sell tickets. And I was like, oh, imposter syndrome, it's all over. And what I realized was that that's not where I'm at now. I've reached capacity where I am, and I'd always wanted to release a podcast. I was like, oh, it's time to pivot. It's time to bring the information in a different way. And I'm still putting on a show later on this year, but it's interesting how, I think that things pivot and, change direction for a reason. And instead of, pushing against it, going with the flow, it just feels, I surrendered to the journey now. And this won't be the end either. There'll be another pivot. I've been doing more festivals. That was the next learning. I suppose every stage has been trusting what I'm supposed to be sharing and how I'm supposed to be sharing it, and then stepping into a new field, whether it be performing at festivals or creating the podcast. So don't expect whatever it is that you step into that's the end. There's always going to be growth and pivots, and you have to be ready to just be like, you know what, that's not working. Let's go on this journey as long as it's lighting up in here. I've been asked the question too, have I ever confused purpose with success or happiness? And I think potentially I saw success as a byproduct of following my purpose. That potentially if I started releasing my music, that I would blow up and then I would be successful. And then you start to sit there and you unpack, well, what is the meaning of success to me? Might not be the meaning of success to you, and the next person and the next person. And then what the meaning of happiness is to me will be different to the meaning of what happiness is to you. And so once I sat with those concepts and realized that I think that no matter what your goal is, when you reach that goal, you're always going to be creating a new goal. And I think it's just important that at each step in the journey, you celebrate those small wins. So for me, my purpose doesn't have a ceiling. It's something that is continuously expanding. And so I don't see an end goal. All I see is checkpoints. Okay, I wanted to do this thing. It's part of my overarching mission and purpose. It feels good in my body, and we got there. It feels good. I'm going to celebrate that. Where to next? What feels good? How do I want to help? And the other thing about the purpose thing was, someone said to me too that, does it help humanity? And if it's not ego serving and it's something that serves humanity, then it's always going to feel purposeful. Because if you're serving other and not serving self, I feel that the universe will reward you, and that reward doesn't necessarily mean in money. For me, I feel like since turning to the service of humanity, I haven't been abundant in money. I've been abundant in time and abundant in joy. And they're two things that I didn't have 5 years ago. Not at all. So I think the other thing too is we look for confirmations when we make these choices. And again, you have to question what it is for you it means to be successful, and what it means for you to live a purposeful life. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Because if it's self-serving in the terms of I'm going to make a heap of money and I'm going to be really liked in the eyes of everyone, or what it is that the ego is attaching to, it's not going to be, you're not going to see the abundance that comes to you if they are your main overarching goals. Because the abundance should come from, I'll finish this episode tonight and it'll feel nice to have served you, to have had a conversation around purpose, and hopefully lift some of those pressures and maybe give you some guideposts to start questioning what your purpose could be, and start stepping into, I don't know, some sort of hobby or limiting belief that you never thought you could step into, but realizing that it's probably what you need to. So finishing up here, what is some advice I would give to someone who hasn't found their purpose? I would go back to those 4 questions, and I would find the thing that I would say that I would be doing if no one was watching. Now, I'm essentially sitting in my lounge room on my own with one light in front of me, talking to myself. And yes, eventually, probably some people will be watching or listening, but no one's watching, and it feels good to share. But I'll still be writing my music, and I'll still be putting it out, and I will still be doing my breath work and my meditation and my journaling when no one is watching, because these things make me feel alive. So what is it that makes you feel alive? And unapologetically do that thing for as long and as hard as you can. And that's your purpose. And when that thing doesn't feel, when that thing doesn't make you feel alive anymore, it's not your purpose anymore. You need to pivot. And you go do the next thing unapologetically and as hard as you can, until that doesn't feel like your purpose anymore. Life is a journey, and it doesn't have a destination. So don't give it one. Just keep going with the flow and finding joy. Remember, the world doesn't need saving, people do. And if we give the people the tools to save themselves, we save the world. I am going to leave you with a song called Last Day on Earth, because I don't want it to be your last day on earth, for you to start living in your purpose.
Checklist in hand, staring at your feet, distant beeping in the colon of sleep. You search your soul for memories of past. Did you climb that mountain? Did you find joy? Did you laugh? If it's your last day on earth, can you be proud? Have no regrets. If it's your last day on earth, can you close your eyes? Can you smile? Mind light, weightless soul. Your trauma released and you've learned to let go. Did you wander that pathless path to ensure that you ain't coming back? Did you write a song to carry on? Did you find your life's mission? Did you find your purpose? Did you fall in love? If it's your last day on earth, can you be proud? Have no regrets. If it's your last day on earth, can you close your eyes? Can you smile? No could-haves, no would-haves, no should-haves. It's all up to you to write a story that is true. If it's your last day on earth, can you be proud? Have no regrets. If it's your last day on earth, can you close your eyes? Can you smile? If it's your last day on earth, can you be proud? Have no regrets. If it's your last day on earth, can you put a smile on that face this day? Can you be proud? Have no regrets. Checklist in hand, staring at my feet, and I smile, 'cause I love the life I've